Or sometimes you can beat City because Pep beats himself, right? It's the old overthinking chestnut, which I'm not really on board with. I always kind of feel like, he does this stuff to try to give himself an edge. But sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes I don't really understand it. I didn't even understand the setup with a back three and Bernardo Silva on the left. I don't understand. I mean, was he thinking that Tomiyasu was just going to be back, and so Bernardo Silva could maybe play make from there? Did you follow that?
Yeah, it's just I think what they tried to do was to. I mean, this formation with the back three is obviously excellent to press really high and have all those options with the ball. The problem is if you don't have the ball and if your press is inefficient like it was for the first half, then you're completely undone, and that forces Bernardo Silva to play as a left back, which
against Saka.
Exactly, which he's not comfortable with, and
that
was terrible. But that's why I don't understand how Pep thought, let's go with, Ake and Ruben Diaz and Walker. It's a great idea against a team like Arsenal at the Emirates. Maybe at the Etihad would be a little bit different. And again, he worked against Aston Villa for City. It's not because he worked away at home for Aston Villa against Aston Villa that he's going to work away at Arsenal.
I kind of feel we can't have it both ways in the sense that, we accuse him of changing things and overthinking things. It was the same lineup against Villa, as you said. It was the same
Arsenal
personnel except for Ake. It was Ake for Laporte. Yeah. What gets me about it is you could tell in the first half that it wasn't working. I mean, you didn't have the ball.
Yeah.
And that's not it took an hour to change it.
Yeah. I thought he was going to change at halftime, I have to be honest.
I wonder if he also stuck with it because somehow he thought it benefited Erling Haaland and the service to Erling Haaland. That he almost kind of wanted to, nip this Haaland issue in the bud, as it were. In the end, the guy gets his goal. I think he's already scored more goals than...
it's 26 now.
It's more than absurd, right?
The last 5 or 6 goal scorers.
Top
league goal
but I wonder if that was a thing, if it got to him. Because it did look like Haaland got better service.
Yeah, and it looked like De Bruyne was playing closer to Haaland, which I think helps, and Gundogan as well. And I think this is a benefit. Of course, if you play with just 3 defenders, then that means you can have another option. So Bernardo Silva and Rodri can play, for example, as your 2 defensive midfielders, and that means Gundogan can play a bit higher up, and then De Bruyne can play higher. And of course, you have more support for Haaland. You still have the 2 wingers in Mahrez and Grealish, and that kind of front 5, if you want, is pretty scary. Plus Bernardo, because of the mobility and the energy, can join in as well, and suddenly you've got a 3-1-6, a bit like what we saw with Bayern against PSG, and that's very appealing. If you have the ball and if you can press the oppositions and recover the ball high. If you're on the back foot, like Arsenal put City on in the first half, if you're under pressure, then all that tactics is falling apart. And that's what happened. They were lucky, City, to score the first goal, and Arsenal could easily have scored more than 1 in the first half.
It's a good point. Because on paper, this team, just the fact that you have Haaland, who is bigger, stronger, faster than anybody else, at least on that pitch, you could say, okay, it doesn't matter where I win the ball because 2 passes, transition, release him into space, and then the defenders either get sent off or he runs through and scores. But that's not the City way of playing. That's not the Pep way of playing, and it's not really what they were trying to do in this game.
Because this is a formation to have 65% of the ball.
Exactly.
Like Bayern had. Bayern played exactly the same way against PSG on Tuesday. They had 65 in the first half and 60 in the overall or something like that. But no, when you have City had 36% of the ball in that game, which is the lowest in any Guardiola team in the history of his coaching. He never had so less of the ball than he had on Wednesday night, which you don't need to have a lot of the ball, as we know, to win games, blah, blah. But still, it's quite significant. And for me, he got it wrong tactically because the system that he set up his team with is a system to have a lot of the ball, and they just didn't. So it didn't work. It could not work.
So it's interesting. You're saying this. I kind of agree with your reading of the situation. I wonder what Pep is thinking right now, because let's broaden out the background, right? So he's been asked, and unfortunately, this is the way it works in this country, with the media and the clubs, because it's a club's decision, it's a club's PR department's decision, right? bad things happen, bad accusations happen. And who talks about it? Is it the club? No, the club just get a bunch of lawyers to put out a statement.
I know you hate
I
that.
absolutely hate it.
I know.
I don't want to hear from
understand.
Pep on this because Pep doesn't know.
Yeah.
And of course, what's Pep going to do? And I'm talking about the charges against Manchester United and whatever. Pep shouldn't have to go and explain it. Pep wasn't there when it happened.
No.
Pep is not an accountant, right?
No.
Why not get Ferran Soriano to go and speak?
Yeah.
The man speaks English. I've heard him speak English, right?
Yeah.
Instead, he hides in his little bunker and never speaks. Khaldoon does one interview a year with that weirdo lickspittle who doesn't works for the club, and that's it.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you completely.
So it's not fair to Pep.
No.
And so in some ways, it's not fair to necessarily for us in the media to dissect what Pep says. When Pep comes out the way he did and says, I will always believe the club, I asked them, I'm not going to be their friend anymore and whatever. He's an employee.
Yeah.
If the CEO of this company were to go and tell me something like that, how am I going to go question it? Right? I'm an employee, right? It's not a comfortable position. It puts Pep in a very difficult position because Pep people then ridicule Pep, and that's not necessarily fair to him. I also feel though that, and this is why it seemed to me like he was very under pressure, like he might have gone and screwed this up. Because he said what he said, and then he made the comment about the Steven Gerrard slip, and he tied it in.
Yeah, basically saying that everything that happened in the Premier League is Manchester City's fault.
Exactly.
Including the slip from Gerrard, including,
Now, and then he felt the need to go and apologize to Steven Gerrard, to Steven Gerrard's wife and family. When I first heard it, I'm like, is he being sarcastic again? Or like...
So he was clearly very sarcastic on the first Gerrard comment.
The first time, yes.
After that, do you think that he got a lot of slack, or he felt
I don't understand. I think Steven Gerrard is a grown-up, right? He slipped. It probably didn't cost him the title directly if you go back and look at the situation of the points. That's another kind of miss. But was Steven Gerrard offended? Did he need an apology? I don't know.
There was anything offensive about what Pep said.
But then of course he doesn't apologize to Daniel Levy, where maybe that was actually a little more serious. I don't know. Like, just move on, dude.
I know.
Like, you said your piece. You've defended the club. You have to. You're an employee of the club. Maybe this is what you believe. You just don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? Not only does he not know, I don't know. I can have suppositions based on the things. I've read the cast judgment. I've read the judgments or whatever. But a tribunal will determine this, right? So let's leave Pep to do his job. I mean, for me, frankly, I think it's a bad decision from City. I think they should have put somebody else out there, right, to go and address this. He doesn't have to go into detail. I understand there's an ongoing case, right? But you can give the broad outlines and say, look, I've spoken.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Pep's not going to talk about it because Pep wasn't here. Pep doesn't go and deal with sponsorship contracts or whatever.
Pep could bury this on the first question, saying, I wasn't here. This is a bit like what Xavi said about this new affair with Barcelona and the vice president of the referee association. Xavi said it was before my time. I don't know anything. Pep could have said exactly the same. Exactly. And I don't think Pep helped himself. He was very intense, and in a way, I love Pep's intensity on the pitch, off the pitch. I love it, and it should not change. But he could have also answered differently to those questions.
I think the reason he did, you're 100% right. And it's easy for us to say that's what Pep should have done.
Yeah, of course.
I think he didn't do it because he feels a responsibility. He so much believes in the team, the community, the spirit. So he says, I'm going to take this on board.
Yeah, but the Gerrard comment is because he felt attacked. And I understand that he wants to defend his club and his people and his community. And I think that's great. But that was clearly like, you attacking us. You blaming us for everything. But that line was a bit like, when you read it or when you heard it, you felt like, well, that's a bit strange. Come on.
Yeah. No, maybe that's why I apologize. I said, I'm not sure it was necessary, but it's his call. Going forward, do we see a better City? Do we see this as a turning point for City, or are the fact that the fact that they had 36% possession, the fact that they were gifted several goals, this isn't necessarily the dominant City that we're used to.
No, it's not, and I think we're still waiting for them to peak this season, to really play well all together. You can have Haaland scoring 3, of course. You can have a Mahrez, very good game. KDB now and again. Of course, you can have that kind of stuff. But collectively, together, I guess maybe the first game against United when they really played them out of the park, and I think it was a very naive Ten Hag and United's performance. But apart from that, I think we've seen patches, but not consistently all together having that really impressive display. So that might come, and it will come at the best time for them. But this is when usually in the league, the best time comes, when they put like 11 wins in a row or something like that. Crazy. Let's see if they do it. Champions League is coming back for them next week. Let's see how they deal with that. Do you rest a few players against Forest at the weekend? Because then you play Leipzig. Do you like build on what we saw against Arsenal, go and smash Forest with your stronger 11 and then go again against Leipzig? It'd be interesting to see how they manage the next few games. But yeah, it looks like that win, imagine like mentally, it's a huge boost.
All right, final question. I'm not going to make you pay the percentage game between Arsenal and City. I just asked
50-50 still.
50-50.
100%.
So chances of Manchester United winning the title still 0. Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. Jules on the record. Percentage chance Manchester United.
40, 20, 45, 10.
10% chance Manchester United win the title.
Okay, maybe 20, 40, 20, maybe.
20%.
I don't know. I'm going to say something. You know?
I think it's a lot less. Hey, time will tell.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.